الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وآله وأصحابه أجمعين. فقد قال جل وعلا في كتابه المجيد وفرقان الحميد بعد أن أقول أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا وعلى ربهم يتوكلون الذين يقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون أولئك هم المؤمنون حقا لهم درجات عند ربهم ومغفرة ورزق كريم. صدق الله العظيم. Honorable elders, respected brothers, mothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Amongst the very many things which differentiate the Sahaba Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim ajma'een and ourselves are very many things. But one in particular which differentiates us in a great standard is their ability to instantly and permanently remove themselves from vice, evil, and sin and embrace virtue and goodness. What does this mean? This means that Allah has bestowed this noble quality within each and every single one of us, that when we make our minds up for something, whether it may be to do something, whether it may be to leave something, we have the intrinsic ability by the will of Allah to remove and distance ourselves or get closer to it. But how is it that when we do distance ourselves or we do get close to something, we fall back, we fail? But the Sahaba were such that when they made their decision to leave a sin, they would be able to permanently leave it. If they decided to embrace a certain blessing or a certain virtue, they would be able to instantly embrace it. How is it that these things happen? It is first and foremost the foundation of our iman and belief and faith within ourselves must be firm within our hearts. In regards to this, in Surah Al-Anfal, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala mentions in the second verse of Surah Al-Anfal, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا وعلى ربهم يتوكلون. What does he say? Allah says, and Allah is talking to each and every single one of us, what we must understand, that when we are reciting the Quran, when we are reading the translation, we must understand that Allah is addressing us directly. What does he say? إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم. That believers are only those individuals. Al-mu'minun are only those individuals. إذا ذكر الله, when the name of Allah is mentioned, when things related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are mentioned, وجلت قلوبهم, their hearts tremble in awe. Their hearts tremble in fear out of reverence for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of fear for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. And Allah goes on to say that when our verses are recited before them, meaning when Allah's verses from His noble kalam are recited before such individuals, زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا, that their hearts, their iman within themselves starts to increase. Now, I want to dive a little into this point. That how is it that if we do not even pick up the Quran, try and understand the Quran, how is it that our iman will increase when the verses are recited before us? Because I can recite the Arabic in front of you. You can shake your head and mashallah be, elated by the recitation of the Quran, which in itself is a blessing. There's no denying that. You could be enjoying the recitation. There is no denying that. But how will your iman increase if you are unable to understand what Allah is trying to tell you? Because this Quran was not just revealed for the sake of, mashallah, just shaking our heads and enjoying the recitation, whether it's in salah or outside of salah. But it is incumbent, rather mandatory upon us that we try and understand what the Quran is trying to teach us. Whether it may be that we study by a teacher, whether it may be that we open up a translation in whatever language we feel comfortable in, and we recite a translation. But we must understand, try. And it is not a journey that you complete within 1 month or 3 months or 6 months or a year. You just complete the entire translation. It's a lifelong journey, step by step. That you learn a verse today, you learn a verse tomorrow, it's about the consistency. Hence, in regards to this, what does Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? He says, أحب الأعمال إلى الله وأدومها وإن قل. That the most beloved of actions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those وأدومها, are those which are consistent وإن قل. That those actions most beloved to Allah are those which are consistent. Meaning you recite a translation from the Quran, one verse a day. And all of us have smartphones now. So this excuse to say that, Shaykh, I don't have a translation, Shaykh, I can't get an access to. We all have smartphones, or majority of us at least have smartphones, or gadgets, or some sort of electronic device that we can download these translations by noble scholars and at least recite 1 or 2 verses of the translation, which will take you less than 2 minutes. But it is up to us that we take that first initial step. That when we recite the translation, when we read the translation, don't just read it for the sake of reading it, but rather you try and ponder over it. That what is Allah trying to tell me through these verses? It is so simple, but yet so deep. When Allah speaks about how He created the skies and the ground, how He created the heavens and how He created the insan. When we read these verses, sometimes they may seem so simple, but it is the introspection that is needed to truly derive the benefits from these verses. Then coming back to the verse of Surah Al-Anfal, when Allah says, وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا, that when our verses are recited before such individuals, what happens? وَعَلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ, that such individuals, when Allah's name is mentioned, they tremble in awe. When the verses of Allah are recited before them, their iman increases. Such individuals, who are they? Allah finishes the verse off by saying, وَعَلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ, that such individuals are those who place all of their trust, their tawakkul, in solely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether it is in terms of matters of this dunya, related to this dunya, or related to the akhirah, each and every single matter in their life, they place it in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah goes on into the third verse by saying, الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. What are the actions that these individuals will do, whose hearts tremble, whose iman increases? What are the actions such type of individuals do? Mind you, this is not me telling you this. This is in Surah Al-Anfal, verse 2-4. Allah goes on to say that such individuals who are among those that are true believers are those who الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ, those who establish their salah, their 5 times obligatory salah. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, and from that which we have bestowed upon them, they spend in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ, and from that rizq we have given them, يُنْفِقُونَ, they spend. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not specify what they spend in. Rather, He left it open-ended. So that now when we spend in building a well for poor people, that is from the yunfiqun. When we spend on our poor family members, that is from the yunfiqun. When we spend in building the masajid, that is from the yunfiqun. When we spend for those that are poor, those that are orphans, or those that are widows, that is from the yunfiqun. Whether it be that we feed those that are hungry, that is from the yunfiqun. We clothe those that do not have clothing, that is from the yunfiqun. Any action, any endeavor in which we are giving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not for ulterior motives or reasons, that is who those individuals will be, from those who are mentioned as وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Then what does Allah say for the fourth verse of Surah Al-Anfal? أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ حَقًّا لهم درجات عند ربهم ومغفرة ورزق كريم. What does Allah say? أولئك هم المؤمنون حقا. That these are the true individuals who are upon the truth. لهم درجات, for them will be ranks, عند ربهم, by their Lord, ومغفرة, and forgiveness, ورزق كريم, and sustenance only from who? Only from Allah, the most benefit, the most merciful. Allah is telling us that for you to be considered a good Muslim, for you to be considered a good mu'min, it is not that difficult. It is, Allah is trying to tell us that we must become individuals of not only good actions, but we must become individuals of good morals and character. The Muslims nowadays have left what was a core integral part of their iman, and that is the innate nature, the innate ability to show the noble quality and traits taught to us by our beloved Habib. The mannerisms, the akhlaq, the adab, the way we treat one another, the way we interact with one another, the greetings that we give one another, how we speak about one another, our transactions and our dealings with one another. It is up to us to make sure it is of the highest standard. We're not amongst those that tomorrow somebody can stand up and say, yes, I dealt with a Muslim and he's a liar, he's a cheater, he's a scammer, he's somebody who doesn't live up to his word, he is unreliable. Because at that point we are not tarnishing our own names, rather we are tarnishing the name of a Muslim. We are tarnishing the name of the Muslim all across the globe. And so our actions will speak louder than words. And how many times have I spoken to individuals where they tell me, Shaykh, I prefer dealing with non-Muslims because when I deal with them, they are more honest and trustworthy. They don't lie or cheat or scam. But whenever I deal with people who are Muslims, they are from those that scam or lie or cheat. My brothers and sisters, let us not point fingers. Again, this is not for me to point fingers at any of you. Rather, it is for us to open our eyes and wake up. That our actions, whether we realize it or not, they have an impact. They have an impact. Because individuals see that, yes, a Muslim dealt with me in such and such manner. Let us move forward. I share with you a hadith which I have mentioned many times before in the previous months, and I will continue to share it again and again, because this hadith is so powerful that it allows us to understand that when we have truly manifest this hadith into our life, we're able to live life in a much more content manner. What does the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? He says, "Man asbaha minkum aminan fi sirbihi mu'afan fi jasadi, indahu qutu yawmi, faka'annama hizat lahu dunya." That he says, whoever amongst you wakes up, number one, secured in his dwelling, mu'afan fi jasadi, he has sufficient provisions, he has sufficient food for the day. In mu'afan fi jasadi, he is healthy in his body. Indahu qutu yawmi. Number three, He has sufficient food for the day. فَكَأَنَّمَا حِيزَتْ لَهُ الدُّنْيَا. It is as if this entire world has been gathered for this specific individual. Let's break this hadith down. Number one, let us think to ourselves, how many of us today woke up secured in our dwellings? Number two, how many of us woke up today and body-wise we were healthy? We were not in need of going to the doctors. We were not being rushed to the hospital. Did not have any cancer or tumor or any illness or sickness. You don't realize it, but the fact that you don't have it is not something that you are so great. Rather, it is a gift and mercy from Allah. And if you wish to understand how great of a blessing it is, why don't you visit the old age home? Visit a hospital. Visit somebody who is going through a sickness or illness. And it's possible that person could be in your own family. Ask that person, what is it that you wish and desire? That person will tell you that I don't wish or desire anything. Rather, I wish and desire solely that I become healthy. The parable of this is that of a white cloth. I stand before you in a white cloth. In this entire white cloth, if I were to have a stain, the first thing your eyes would go towards is that stain. And you would neglect the 99% of the white cloth. Why is that? Because it is the odd thing that is out. Out of that entire cloth, it is the odd color that you see. Similarly, in our lives, our brains are wired in such a way that our brains will only look for that which is wrong and bad in our life, and it will neglect and forget the goodness and blessings and mercy from Allah. You have a good family. You woke up in a secure dwelling. You are healthy. You have sufficient food for the day. The Prophet of Allah is telling us that the entire world has been gathered for you. But why is it that when we are drowning, and I choose this word specifically to highlight the point, we are drowning in the mercy and blessings of Allah. But despite all of this, we are amongst those that are constantly complaining and whining that I don't have this and I don't have that. I have this issue and I have that issue. Problems are inevitable. Hardships are inevitable. But it is how you confront and face those hardships. It is how you confront and face those problems. And if you want to understand how to face such problems, think about those of our brothers and sisters, not 1400 years ago, the Sahaba and the Prophet of Allah who went through difficulties and hardships. Just look across the globe. Our brothers and sisters in Turkey and Syria, it took 45 seconds for their entire lives to be changed. The man that was a millionaire yesterday woke up the following day with nothing. The man who went to sleep, the man or woman, I just say man, the individual who went to sleep yesterday with a full family, a house full of love and abundance of children, woke up the next day alone. So now you ask yourself, in relation to the hadith, that they too thought that nothing's going to happen. But all it took was 45 seconds and their entire lives were changed. So how is it that we walk the face of this earth pridefully, arrogantly, thinking that all the goodness and all the blessings and all the mercy that's in my life, it's because of me. I worked hard. I did this. I did that. It was my knowledge, my skill set. My dear brother, my dear sister, who was it that allowed you to have that skill set? Who was it that gave you that knowledge? Who was it that gave you that strength? Who was it that gave you that good health? Who was it that gave you the ability? And all of it comes back to the core essence of this. And it is only Allah that allows for all of this. And so it is up to us that we turn back to Allah. We ask Allah for His forgiveness. And we continuously fulfill the commandments which He has asked us to do, and we refrain from the sins. My dear brothers and sisters, I leave you with the last and final closing of this khutbah. Allah has gifted us this blessing and ni'mah of time. Let us not abuse it or waste it. All of us has intrinsic qualities, intrinsic skills that Allah has bestowed and blessed us with. Let us not let it go in vain, but rather use our energy for good, for enriching the lives of others, for enriching the lives of those that are beloved to us, whether it may be our families and loved ones and friends. But let us be the change that we desire to see. And the change that we desire to see in the outside will only begin when that change is from within. That change comes when we are now performing our 5 daily salah. That change comes when we leave that sin that is so dear and close to us, we let it go. Last and final thing, people have a notion in their minds that the most beloved action to Allah might be, performing a lot of salah, or reciting Quran, or fasting a lot, or giving in charity. All of those are mandatory. All of those are very, very, very important. But one of the greatest blessings and rewards a person can get is a sin that he loves, a sin which he has innate desire for, something which is haram and his heart is calling him towards it. He has an intrinsic desire to go towards it. But for the sake of Allah, he lets go of that sin. He doesn't go near that sin. Even though it pains him so much in his heart to not do something which he desires to do for the sake of Allah, that is amongst one of the greatest blessings and the greatest rewards a person could get. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive our shortcomings. May He forgive all of our wrongdoings, and not only forgive it, but rather turn it into blessings and hasanat and ajr for us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those that are like the Sahaba, that embrace the noble qualities of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we are from those that are forgiven, and we continuously be from those that remember and try and help our brothers and sisters in whatever capacity that we can, whether it may be financially, through our time, or through our du'as. Ameen, ameen, ameen. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة من يطيع الله ورسوله فقد رشد وما يعصهما فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات وبارك على محمد وأزواجه وذريته قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أرحم أمتي بأمتي أبو بكر وأشدهم في أمر الله عمر وأصدقهم حياء عثمان وقضاهم علي وفاطمة سيدة نساء أهل الجنة والحسن والحسين سيدا شباب أهل الجنة وحمزة أسد الله وأسد رسوله رضوان الله تعالى عليهم أجمعين اللهم اغفر العباس ولده مغفرة ظاهرة وباطنة لا تغادر ذنبا الله في أصحابي لا تتخذهم غرضا من بعدي فمن أحبهم فبحبي أحبهم ومن أبغضهم فببغضي أبغضهم وخير أمتي قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر المسلمين في سوريا وتركيا واغفر اللهم لجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين والحمد لله رب العالمين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. الله إن الله يأمر أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم ودعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله تعالى أعلى وأولى وأعز وأجل وأتم وأهم وأكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. أقم الصلاة. I would just like to point out that whenever I do mention a specific place to make dua for them, I'm not just singling them out specifically, but rather it is for all of those of our brothers and sisters all across the globe, wherever they may be. We make dua and pray for them. Any of them that may be being oppressed or in any type of hardship, we make dua for them. Ameen.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So please make sure all the rows are filled in. There are no gaps left between individuals and all cell phones are switched off. Jazakum Allah. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها المزمل قم الليل إلا قليلا نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا إنا سنلقي عليك قولا ثقيلا إن ناشئة الليل هي أشد وطئا وأقوم قيلا إن لك في النهار سبحا طويلا واذكر اسم ربك وتبتل إليه تبتيلا رب المشرق والمغرب لا إله إلا هو فاتخذه وكيلا واصبر على ما يقولون واهجرهم هجرا جميلا وذرني والمكذبين أولي النعمة ومهلهم قليلا إن لدينا أنكالا وجحيما وطعاما ذا غصة وعذابا أليما يوم ترجف الأرض والجبال وكانت الجبال كثيبا مهيلا إنا أرسلنا إليكم رسولا شاهدا عليكم كما أرسلنا إلى فرعون رسولا فعصى فرعون الرسول فأخذناه أخذا وبيلا فكيف تتقون إن كفرتم يوما يجعل الولدان شيبا السماء منفطر به كان وعده مفعولا إن هذه تذكرة فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه سبيلا. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عبس وتولى أن جاءه الأعمى وما يدريك لعله يزكى أو يذكر فتنفعه الذكرى أما من استغنى فأنت له تصدى وما عليك ألا يزكى وأما من جاءك يسعى وهو يخشى فأنت عنه تلهى كلا إنها تذكرة فمن شاء ذكره في صحف مكرمة مرفوعة مطهرة بأيدي سفرة كرام بررة قتل الإنسان ما أكفره من أي شيء خلقه من نطفة خلقه فقدره ثم السبيل يسره ثم أماته فأقبره ثم إذا شاء أنشره كلا لما يقض ما أمره فلينظر الإنسان إلى طعامه أنا صببنا الماء صبا ثم شققنا الأرض شقا فأنبتنا فيها حبا وعنبا وقضبا وزيتونا ونخلا وحدائق غلبا وفاكهة وأبا متاعا لكم ولأنعامكم فإذا جاءت الصاخة يوم يفر المرء من أخيه وأمه وأبيه وصاحبته وبنيه لكل امرئ منهم يومئذ شأن يغنيه وجوه يومئذ مسفرة ضاحكة مستبشرة ووجوه يومئذ عليها غبرة ترهقها قترة أولئك هم الكفرة الفجرة. الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Just a quick announcement. We have the weekend school from 10 to 2 for kids 3 years and above. We have an experienced principal right now, and we're trying to get as many kids registered as possible. So registration is still open. You're welcome to go to talk to us in the office. Secondly, the Masjid does run a lot of programs. It assists a lot of people in need. We are going through a lot of difficulty financially, so a lot of people do approach the Masjid that most people don't know about that require assistance, and the Masjid give out this assistance. So be generous in your donation, and barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum.